Welcome to Planet Capable. Join Mike, Alex, Lee, and Gwen, along with a myriad of special guests, as we discuss topics and issues of importance to the disabled community worldwide.
Hi, and welcome to another great episode of Planet Capable. Today, we're going to talk about snow and what it means to people with disabilities not to be able to deal with that.
Or
I'm
to deal
Mike
with that.
Rogers.
I'm Alex Jesco.
Hi, everyone. This is Lee Hartley.
Oh my good God.
This is going to be an interesting episode, everybody. So, Alex, you walk on crutches, right? You use crutches, right?
No, I float in the air. Yes, Mike.
Well, I'm sorry, disabled Harry Potter. I didn't know that you float in the air.
Damn right.
I didn't know you were part of Gryffindor or whatever.
Damn right.
But anyway, what is it like for you to be in the winter in Buffalo, New York?
It kind of blows, I'll be honest with you. To be honest with you, most of the time, my mentality about the wintertime in Buffalo is as soon as it starts to snow and get icy, I'm basically stuck inside. And as much as I realize that I probably could venture out and venture the snow and the ice, it becomes a lot more risky for me to go out because it's not so much I fear of my risk of falling that's the issue. It's the risk of falling and not being able to get back up. So I feel like in the wintertime, I definitely need one of those life alert things. I've fallen and I can't get up. Very much that. Um, that's my big issue with Buffalo in the wintertime. I struggle quite a bit with not just snow and ice, but like the slush and the various kinds of precipitation that exists, whether it's falling from the sky or on the ground, whatever the case may be. And then on top of that, when people, have their cars and their cars roll over the snow a million times and it packs down the snow a bunch, and that snow turns to ice and makes everything slippery, you know, it's just not a good time. I have no traction. And as a person on crutches, I need traction in order to move like anybody else. So, it's important for me to have traction, and I don't have a lot of traction in the wintertime. So going out to anything, whether it's with my friends or going to the Pal Bus or whatever the case may be, um, it's rough. It's really rough. So,
Yeah,
what about you, Mike?
I remember when I was younger. I don't do that anymore just because I don't want to take the risk of falling. Um, as I'm getting older now, but I used to use crutches as well, like that. And I give you a lot of credit because I needed people to hold me up the whole way. If one of the crutches, decided to slip on the ice, I was down. You
Oh
know,
yeah, don't get me wrong. I still utilize help from my peers when I need it, especially and sometimes my peers sort of insist on it simply because it makes them nervous to watch me slip and slide on the ice and snow and such. So sometimes they will strong arm me into holding me up, which is fine. But it's definitely one of those things that they rather insist upon, which is great.
I have issues with getting stuck in the parking lot.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
greatly wow.
yeah. Just the other day, I was supposed to go into the office that I work at, and because my apartment building didn't shovel the way it needed to, or didn't plow the way it needed to. I couldn't go, and that was just like a dusting. People think motorized wheelchairs or electric wheelchairs will go through anything because they're powerful. They don't deal with snow good at all. I mean, it could just be a small dusting. And if it gets packed a little bit, not even an inch, not even half an inch, they will not move. So I had to inform the apartment building that it needed the plow and we needed the help to you know plow what's needed because I don't have people that can shovel you know the way somebody would do at their house.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't do that. So it's something where it leaves me inside a lot of the winter unless somebody's willing to push that 500-pound wheelchair through the snow, and I don't really feel comfortable making somebody do that. What if they get injured?
Right. And also to add to that as well, I mean, oftentimes a lot of people with disabilities feel stuck inside during the wintertime, and that's not really good for your mental health to be stuck inside for like 4 months out of the year, to basically do the same things every day because you can't go out. You don't have the ability to go out, or rather, you have a fear of going out simply because it's just difficult, which is both understandable, but it's just really rough on mental health, especially with regards to not being able to go out. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
in my younger years, I used to want to try to get to like different events and stuff. So I would go out when it was snowing. And one year I got stuck because the chairs can't go through the snow. And a gentleman in the neighborhood said, "I'll put my chair in your car." And I'm like, "Well, how are you going to pick up a 500-pound chair? And how is it going to fit in your trunk?" So he pushed me all the way to the bus stop, and I was able to get. But you can't expect people in the community to do that. So there needs to be more infrastructure, particularly in the city, to make sure that sidewalks are plowed because now it's up to the people who own the property to plow,
yeah,
and also when it comes to the NFTA or the bus service, it's up to the business to make sure that stop is shoveled out. So
yeah,
we need to relook at the funds that are allocated and the resources because there's no way the NFTA could, manage that all the time. That's impossible.
I will to add to that, I will also say to NFTA's credit, for many of the times I've asked the drivers to assist me to my door, they will oftentimes do that, even though they're not obligated to. So,
Sure.
kudos to them for that because they're not obligated to do that. That's not part of their job
Yeah.
description.
Oh no. In no way am I saying that. They
I'm not
shouldn't
saying
be.
you are. I'm just simply
Yeah.
saying I'm kudos to them for that.
Yeah,
So,
great. I think that's what good humans should do. And
yeah,
I think we need to look at how we as a city treat people that need to move around in the wintertime. We shouldn't be stuck in the house or in our wherever we live, all
yep,
winter. We have enough struggles with acceptance and the rest of it. Let's be honest.
yep.
And then to be stuck inside in the winter is very, very difficult.
Mike, do snow tires exist for your wheelchair? Is that a thing?
I believe you can get them. And I've thought about it, but I don't know if they would be covered. That's something I should check into. And you would have to get somebody to switch them out. I mean,
Right,
I don't know if the wheelchair companies would do that. I'm pretty sure there's probably ways to get more off-road type tires in some
right.
way, even if they're not sanctioned, you know. But that's something to look into. That's a good question that I've wondered about for a while
Mm.
because because there are new innovations like tank chairs and different things like that. So I wonder if there's something out there, or we could be part of developing that.
Yeah. Uh, one thing I'm actually really grateful for is my neighbors. My neighbors are actually do a really good job of also shoveling for the most part. At least I would say at least one of my neighbors is anyway. She does a really good job of shoveling out, so everybody has the ability to get out. But even then, I don't think it should just strictly be up to her to make sure that our driveway is shoveled out, or at least give her some incentive so that she has something out of that
Yeah,
situation.
no, it's no, I don't say this a lot all the time because we sometimes look for the pie in the sky, but this is a matter of equity.
Yep.
I mean, if somebody can't get out at all, we have enough trouble with stairs. We have enough
Yep.
trouble with elevators not being there. Um, we have enough trouble with exorbitant costs for transportation as
Mhm.
people with disabilities. We should not have to worry all the time about getting through the snow. I don't expect it to be perfect all the time because it's winter time, but something's got to be done. Something's got to
Mhm.
be done.
I agree.
And this goes along with the potholes. Yes, I'm bringing up potholes again in Buffalo. That's the big political thing people run on. But you need to start dealing with that. You need to take, you know, some of the money that the governor took for PPL, and spending way much more than they should just to give it to one company. Um, that's another story, though. And I put some money into fixing our
Glenn,
roads and
But Mike, we already have the pothole bandit who's making art out of all the potholes.
yeah, no, I get it, and I love the sentiment, but the pothole bandit does not, you know, they should not even need to be dealing with that because we should have roads that you're not going to fall into the pit of hell, like
Exactly.
going, it's like
Exactly.
our potholes are like sinkholes.
Yep.
God.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, and I have seen, I mean, obviously they have the technology for heated driveways and things like that. Obviously, they're very expensive. And for most of the time, people with disabilities can afford things like that because those are luxury item things that, people that have money have.
Sure,
But, the
sure.
fact that they do exist is, you know, we could say something about that for sure. Um, you know, and I don't know, I just there's got to be a better way to go about it. I mean, hell, if I could hop in a chair that has tank treads on it and roll around in that outside, that's what I'd be doing. But at the same time, if I did that, then I wouldn't be getting the exercise of actually walking around outside. So I don't know.
Well, that's true.
Pros and cons for both sides of it. But
And those vehicles, if you want to call them that,
sure,
they they will not fit up your standard, vehicle ramp. So
right.
you need something to, transport them. So you'd be having to go all over in them, and you know that that would be very inconvenient, if almost impossible,
Yeah, and
unless
I can already hear our listeners now, well, what about, salt and stuff like that? Okay, salt is great, guys. Salt works well, sure. But number one, only up to a certain temperature. And two, it's not always that effective. It can only cover so much. So, you know,
in
I
environmentally it's not good for the environment.
no, it's not. No, it's not.
I mean, that's proven.
Yep. Yeah. I Ideally, Mike, what would you think what would be an ideal situation as far as solving the winter problem for people with disabilities?
Well, I think accountability, it's got to start. I don't think there's an easy solution, but it's got to start with accountability. How can we as a community come together to try to solve the snow issue, or at least put a dent into it? Nothing's ever going to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? Because how can you can't expect the governing body to know whenever every storm's going to come, how much is going to hit. Every day is not going to be perfect, but there's got to be. I mean, for example, in Toronto, Canada, I don't know all the details, so listeners, bear with me. But in Toronto, Canada, um, they have a law or something in the books to say that you know um, many of the businesses have to have buttons on the doors, and they
Mhm.
do. Like if you go into certain coffee shops in Toronto, they have buttons. Those same coffee shops in Buffalo do not
Mhm.
have buttons. So if there is a statute or something that we can put in place to set a standard, that I think that's something we should work on.
Yeah,
Because when people are when we come together with the same idea, with the same spirit, things are possible. You
I
know,
agree.
um, not perfect but possible,
Hmm.
because we want it that way, right? If you want something that way, it's not as hard as we make it out to be, right?
Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking about too was, so I spent some time in Chicago a while ago, and one of the things that Chicago has, which I thought was really cool, is they have like subterranean walkways. Literally, people have there are walkways that go under the ground that people can go from point A to point B, and come out the other side, kind of like a subway, but for people. They call them pedestrian ways or something like that. I forgot what it's called, but like there's like little shops down there too and things like that. It's like, I mean, we'd be kind of living like mole people, but it's a cool way to get around the weather without actually having to deal with the weather. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of this is real because of AI, right? But I think it might have been, and I think it might have been in Asia somewhere. They had a somebody rolled up to a stairs,
mhm,
and the stairs flattened out into a ramp.
that's
And then
cool.
when the person got up, it then turned into a set of stairs again.
That's
So I
cool.
mean, innovation is possible, maybe to where it doesn't even cost that much money to do these things.
Right.
They may exist already, and we're not looking at them,
Yep.
right?
What about
I
you?
remember when my dad snowblowed our elderly neighbor's driveway out. All he wanted in return was her gratitude.
Very cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I like your point, Lee. Working together as a community, not always, how much money can I get for this, but can we help each other every once in a while? Can we, you know, I mean, everything for people with disabilities, any kind of help that we get. No offense to any of our great workers. I'm not trying to say that workers should not be paid. I believe they should be paid. I support that. I'm out there, you know, doing rallies to say that needs to happen. But you know, not everybody is should always be considered an income source.
Yep.
Sorry. I mean, just saying, of course I'll help. Here's a shovel. Let me shovel this little space next to your car. Let me make sure you can get in. You know,
Mhm.
I don't expect somebody who is elderly and could have a heart attack to shovel my walkway or anything like that. But I mean, if I would be able to do it, I would. I would
Yeah.
help somebody if they need it.
Yep.
Yes.
That's the other thing too. People need to consider is that your chances of having a heart attack in the wintertime actually go up due to shoveling.
Oh yeah, there are many people that have coronary issues when they shovel, especially people that are older. You know, I mean, and sometimes they think, oh, I can do it like I did it last year, and then they find out that they find themselves in the emergency room.
Yep.
Oh, Mister Joe, you shouldn't have done that, or Mrs. Smith, you shouldn't have done that. You know, so not just people with disabilities, but everybody should help each other.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, and I think we need to look at that as communities, not just in Buffalo, but just around, especially the eastern states. Is how can we help each other so that somebody isn't stuck inside all winter, depressed, and I mean, I don't know about you, Alex and Lee, but I expect to feel bad about the winter time most of the time because
Yep.
I know there are more. Once it says there's going to be a storm, I don't go out because if I'm stuck in it, there's nothing I can do.
Yep. Yep. We should start a wheelchair snowplow business for people that
Yeah,
get stuck in the winter. Yeah.
I agree. I think that that's something that's needed. I
Yep.
mean, I'm lucky enough right now to have an employer in my day job that is understanding. But if I were in your typical job, if I kept on saying, "Oh, I can't get out, I can't get out," and they would start to say, "Oh, you don't need to get out because you don't have a job here, so stay home."
Exactly.
You know, we want people to with disabilities to be employed, but in the wintertime it's 10 times worse.
Yep. Yep. Lee, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Cool. I've said my piece. I'm good.
Yeah, I have too. The community needs to come together with our public public
Topical.
public officials and fix it.
Absolutely. Put your money out there, y'all, because
Yeah,
we need we need
yeah.
we need help.
I mean, well, one last thing I want to say, that I didn't think about. If we can shovel out the Buffalo Bills to get to a game that's out of town during a storm, we should be able to shovel our fellow, citizens to get to where they
Absolutely.
should be, or figure that out.
Speaking of funds and money, we are we are also in the midst of raising funds for ourselves and Muddy Wheels. So for Muddy Wheels, we are raising funds so that Rhinestone Nature Preserve can get more scooters so that more people with mobility and disabilities, or mobility issues and disabilities, can take part in the nature trails. So if you'd like to donate to that, we have our GoFundMe up there. Just look for Rhinestone at GoFundMe, and you will find our GoFundMe. And then, Mike, you want to talk about outside the boxes GoFundMe as well?
Yeah, yeah. Muddy Wheels is something we do at Outside the Box, and we are people with disabilities that have been really pushing to work all our lives. So in order so that we don't have to spend funds that we need to live, we're asking our community to support our general GoFundMe so that we can do things like talk with the scouts, make them aware of people with disabilities in the future so they become adults that can help with these issues, right? We want to build up good citizens. We also do things like Muddy Wheels, where we go out in nature where you don't see a lot of people with disabilities go. We want people to experience life the only way you're included is if you experience life and people with and without disabilities come together. And it's really what outside the box is all about. What we call full inclusion, where you just interact with each other. We also do something called Ask Me Anything, and that's where we just sit somewhere with a sign that says Ask Me Anything, and we want you to ask questions, because one of the most difficult things for people is interacting in a way where people understand us, people with disabilities. And the only way that can happen is if you ask the hard questions, or questions that you don't know about. Interact, come up and ask. Well, in order to do these things, it requires funding. In order to do things the way we want to do them, it requires funding. So if you could support both of those GoFundMe's, because they're a little bit different, but they're both our goals. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful. We're not asking for $1 million from each person unless you got it. We'll take it,
Mm-hmm.
but please be generous and support with what you can, right? So we
Yes,
would
please.
really
Yes.
appreciate that. And
Absolutely.
as Lee says, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And we appreciate all your donations and all your
Yes.
support. Even if you can't donate, please share our link out there so people know what we're doing. That's greatly appreciated too.
Yeah, we get that times are tough and things like that, but we really would appreciate anything that you could do,
Yep.
even sharing our information.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, it's been lovely talking to you guys this evening. And I hope to talk to you guys again for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.